Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going through what's in my wallet in terms of credit cards, and that is because recently I've been having a lot of my friends ask me, what credit cards do I use? Why do I use them? So I thought I'd make a video about it. So the first card that I'm going to be having in my wallet for this next upcoming year is the Discover It cashback card, right? This was actually the first credit card I ever got, and they had a pretty sweet deal where for every dollar of cash back you get the first year, they match it one for one. So essentially, you get a 100% return on that cash back. So what does this credit card offer in terms of its benefits? Overall, it's nothing too crazy. It just has a 1% cash back on all regular spend, and then has a 5% rotating category. Currently, for this quarter of the year, it's Amazon.com and drugstores. So anything that I'm using to buy on Amazon will be the Discover It card, so I can take advantage of that 5% cash back. Next up on the list is the Chase Freedom Unlimited. So, the Chase Freedom Unlimited in some ways is like an upgraded Discover It cashback card because instead of getting 1% cashback on everything, you get 1.5% cashback. Now, another benefit that's really good with this card is for everything that I'm going to say cashback or percentage points on, you actually get these in points, and how you choose to use those points is super important. But first, let's go through the categories. I mentioned the 1.5% back on any category. Then you have 3% cash back on dining in drugstores, 5% on Chase travel. And yeah, this card also has no annual fees, which is pretty sweet. Both of the first two cards do not have that. Now, the reason I really like the Chase credit cards overall is because, as mentioned, I can take this cash back in percentage and get it in points. These points can then be used to redeem for gift cards, travel, or other things as well, which later in the video you'll see can get very valuable, right? And then the Chase Freedom Unlimited is just an overall good catch-all card to have. Um, Again, 1.5% back on all categories is good, and it's a good beginner credit card for the long term. So if you don't know where to start, this is probably one of the most friendliest beginner cards that you're gonna have on this list. The next card on my list is the only business credit card that I currently have. Now, I do plan on getting others in the future, but for now, I think one is just enough. And that is the Amex Blue Business Cash Card. Essentially, this card is really simple and straightforward, doesn't have any crazy multipliers on dining, groceries, or whatever it might be that the other Amex cards have. But instead, you trade that off to get 2x points back per dollar on every single purchase, no matter what. Every single category, you get 2x points on. So it's a pretty sweet business catch-all card where I get to, again, work up and build these points. You're going to notice that's kind of the theme. My goal here is to build and accumulate these points because both the Ultimate Rewards points from Chase and the Amex points are very valuable that can be used for travel. Going forward, we have the Chase Freedom Unlimited's less popular little cousin, right? It's the Chase Freedom Flex. So this card is kind of like a mix of the Freedom Unlimited and the Discover It card because just like the Discover It card, it has 5% cash back on the rotating categories, and that depends on what quarter we are on. For example, I know during June, July, I had 5% on gas, so I was definitely taking advantage of that. Along with this, it has 5% back on travel through Chase, 3% back on dining in drugstores, and then 1% on everything else. So at one point, essentially, if you get both the Freedom Flex and Freedom Unlimited, they kind of fulfill the benefits of having the Discover It card. But as you can see, these are two chase cards, right? And kind of what I'm building up to these two chase cards is I'm using these base cards to funnel up and accumulate points. So then later we can use another card down in the video to transfer these points out to travel partners. And that card, of course, is no other than the Chase Sapphire Preferred, right? And this card is really well known among the credit card community because you can take these points from the Freedom Flex and the Freedom Unlimited, transfer them over to the Sapphire Preferred, and then get a 25% transfer bonus, transferring them to the travel portal. From there, again, you can transfer them to travel partners, whether it's United or other partnering companies, for even more multipliers on these points. So this is where you get the real value of these points, where you can use them for travel and get really good discounts on flights. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about the Chase Sapphire Preferred. First off, this card is the only card that I have that has an annual fee, right? It has a $95 annual fee. That's every single year you have to pay that just so you can keep the card. Now, what are the benefits of getting that? As mentioned, you get to travel, you get to use those transfer points, sorry. Then you get 5x points on travel through Chase, just like the other cards, 3x on dining, online groceries, and streaming, 2x on all travel, and then you get a $50 annual hotel credit, and the primary rental car insurance, right? So, the main reason again why I'm using this card is to take advantage of those transfers. I've been accumulating a lot of chase points over the past couple of years, and what you get when you put these three cards together, the Chase Freedom Unlimited, the Freedom Flex, and the Chase Sapphire Preferred, is the Chase Trifecta, and this is used again to really harvest points and take advantage of their strength of that currency to have better transfer deals that you can redeem for flights. Because, as mentioned earlier, you can use these points for gift cards, but at that point, you're not getting the best possible value that you can for these points. My newest and most recent card that I got was actually the Citi Costco cashback card. And the only reason I got this card is because I was thinking of how I can get 5% back on gas. And at first, I thought of the other Citi custom cash card, but that's with MasterCard. And Costco has a partnership with Visa where you can only pay at their locations with Visa cards. So I decided, it'd be worth it to get the 5% cash back on Costco gas and 4% cash back on all other gas. Now, there are other benefits to this card. That's the main reason I got it for. Along with that, I've been spending money on Costco for a while now for the gas. So I figured why not get some cash back on it more than I was like at a 1.5% points with the Chase cards. As mentioned, alongside the gas percentages that you get 3% on restaurants and travel, 2% on anything at Costco or Costco.com, 1% on everything else, and finally, no uh, foreign transaction fees, which is actually a really sweet thing for traveling, going abroad. You got to have a card with no transaction fees. You could get those points up without having to pay interest and other payments on that. One thing I forgot to mention about these credit cards is usually when you're applying for them, for some of the Chase ones more specifically, they have welcome offers, right? For the Chase Freedom cards, when you spend $500 in 3 months, you get $200 cash back. And then I was actually able to get a really good deal on the Chase Sapphire Preferred, where I got 100,000 points for spending $5,000 in 3 months. So that's one more thing that I'd look out for if you're thinking about applying for any of these cards. Along with that, some general credit hygiene would be to always pay your statement in full, set up your auto pay, and to never spend more than we can afford at that moment. So that's exactly what I'm going to be using in my wallet for at least the next year or so. There are some credit cards that I do want to get in the future, some of the Amex Gold or Platinum cards, but there's a while until we get there. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions or concerns, maybe there's a credit card that you're interested in or you would like me to make a video about something else, feel free to leave a comment down below. I always love to read them. And with that, take care, have a great day, and an even better weekend. Bye bye.